Hi everyone and welcome to my guide for the Essence Drain Contagion Lich in 0.3. I had a ton of fun playing this character. I leveled it to 94 on SSF and this has been an absolute breeze. It was really chill, easy, very tanky build, very good for map clearing, and it has okay damage output on bosses, so that I even took down like all of the T3 like pinnacle bosses and Uber Arbiter and so on without really much trouble. The cool part about this build is that you can play this basically from level 1 because Contagion is actually a level 1 skill, Essence Drain is a level 3 skill, and there is like a few more things that you acquire on the way, but the main combo is online in early Act 1 already, and you just kind of keep blasting, keep progressing, and it's a very nice and smooth and very satisfying playstyle. So the way this works is that Contagion is a dot you put on a target, and when that target dies, it will spread its own dot and every other chaos dot on the target to everything around it, and this can spread multiple times. So as you can see here right now, for example in a breach, ritual, expeditions, or just in general mapping, you apply those dots together with Essence Drain, then the target dies and it will just proliferate through the entire map effectively as long as there's enemies nearby. So you always do this like 1-2 combo with Contagion, Essence Drain, and then you have a bunch of other things that help you out, especially on single targets. There's a Despair Curse. We also have a second curse with Blasphemy. The Temp Chains slow everything around us, which makes this very comfortable because nothing can just rush at you and like chase you down or something like that. And it also makes, for example, all of your dots last longer, so you don't have to apply them that often on a boss fight, for example. Then we have the Dark Effigy, which is a totem that you just kind of put somewhere in the corner, and it shoots at enemies nearby that have chaos dots on them. So we have 2 of them already from our skills. There's a third one, which is poison, that we can put as a support skill, and then those effigies keep blasting like a machine gun into the boss, for example, or into like bigger rare packs or so. And the last skill is Unearth, which is also a level 1 skill that we get from the start, which creates these little bone constructs that are running around here. And the cool part about that is if you unearth a corpse that had Contagion on it, it will carry over to the minion, and that minion will then spread it for you. So in some cases, it kind of just like runs into the pack, it starts spreading the Contagion, and you don't even have to cast much, and everything starts melting, and then it spreads again and again. So it's a very nice playstyle. I had a ton of fun with this. It was the first Switch I've done, and it was a pretty good success, I think. Also keep in mind, all of these clips here are from like relatively high-end SSF mapping. So this damage could be a lot higher if you had better gear from Trade League, for example. This is just some stuff I crafted basically from leftover items that I had in my stash when I came out of campaign, and then a few things that I upgraded along the way. If you really invest into this, you can probably have double the energy shield. So I had like around 9k here, but this felt very comfortable already, but you can easily go beyond 15,000 with this, I think. And you can probably get to the point where your boss DPS is above 1 million plus or so as well, so that you can take down all of the endgame bosses really easily and quickly. But I felt this was not needed. Most, like even T16 plus 4 map bosses were like less than 10 seconds sometimes even. So even with my SSF gear, that was totally fine. By the way, this video is sponsored by the Crimson Market, so a big thank you to them. And if you don't know these guys yet, they have created this trading platform here for both in-game currency and items, no RMT, and also other digital assets, overlays, streaming equipment, and so on. But more importantly, they have their loyalty club where they do big giveaways. And what's coming up next week on Saturday is this PC here, the Illusionator PC. That is a custom build, just like they have done like 20 of these or something like that in the past already. They always make these insane custom builds that you can just see here as a little overview. And they are really cool, one-of-a-kind PCs. And you can sign up for this for free with the link down in the description and in the pinned comment. So the way this works is that they have this loyalty club, and you can choose one of these several tiers here, and you get loyalty points each month. And as soon as you have any loyalty points whatsoever, you will be in the run for any of those giveaways that you're about to see. So you can sign up with a PayPal or Stripe account, but you can also get in for free with the golden ticket. So you get a 30 days free royal tier subscription. After signing up, there is no minimum fee or duration. You can cancel it again if you want to, and then you are in the run. And I will be pulling the winner for this PC here on 21st of September on my stream. So you can be there, but you don't have to be. These are the specs. It's an absolute badass machine. And they also have some smaller giveaways coming up. So if you're seeing this here before the end of Saturday, for example, they also have this monitor coming up. There's an Xbox next month, a Steam Deck. So they have some smaller stuff sprinkled in as well. So go check out the Crimson Market. You can find a link down in the description if you want to sign up for this PC. Good luck to you guys, and let's go back to the rest of the video. So I have prepared a pretty elaborate planner here. You can check this out. This is also in the community planners as a public build. You can go and vote on it and stuff if you want. But we have the point-by-point passive tree progression here. You can look at the individual steps. There is a bit of respecking that you do basically at the end of the campaign for weapon set 1 and weapon set 2 setups, and a little bit more later as well, as you get more points, so that we can get especially a really big curse on our second weapon swap. So this is kind of what we're doing here with the red and the green. So here we have all these curse nodes, for example. This is so that we can do a really big despair curse for minus resistances for chaos, and it also lasts like 20 seconds, and it just affects the entire screen basically. So this is very nice to just kind of put down sometimes on, for example, an expedition or like on the bosses. Other than that, the tree is relatively straightforward. We mainly just pick up all of the chaos stuff and a lot of the energy shield stuff, and that's almost about it. So the entire tree is effectively that. So you have like, all these like early nodes here, chaos damage, energy shield, lots of ES nodes, chaos nodes, and so on. So this is basically how this goes. And as I said, you can like follow the step-by-step progression here. If you want to start this at level 1, you can do that, and then can just kind of follow along here with the point by point. And make sure that you also do the slight respecs. A few things worth highlighting here is that the energy shield nodes are not necessarily super impactful right from the get-go. So when you're like in Act 1 or Act 2 or Act 3, you might not necessarily really have energy shield gear, especially if it is not a twink. So if you're just like doing your first character, for example, or just trying to find your stuff on the go, then these energy shield nodes can come a little bit later, for example. But it's definitely nice to start investing a little bit into energy shield once you're like in the middle of the campaign or so, just to get a bit more tanky. What also something that I have done temporarily, because I was on hardcore SSF with this character, was I took Mind Over Matter. This is also another way to get really tanky early on. So you just have a lot of mana and a big mana pool. It does take from your mana recovery, but it is actually manageable. And then you can just ignore most of the gearing or defensively, basically. Just trying to get like a good weapon, chaos skill ranks, chaos damage, spell damage, and you have this to protect you. Another highlight is also the Whispers of Doom. So this is something that I have in this progression relatively late, like around the end of campaign, when we get the final like spirit capacity unlock, where then we can use a Blasphemy curse. Blasphemy costs 60 spirit per curse you put into it, and this means that you kind of want to have the full spirit pool from the campaign. So then you pick this up, and then you have the double curse. So one is going to be your permanent aura temp chains, and the other one is the despair that you cast on rares and bosses. And lastly, some important notes are also energy shield recharge rate and faster start of energy shield recharge. So especially the dependable ward is a very good cluster here because it has both, and you kind of want to invest a lot into this because energy shield is all of our defense in the end game. There is no Mind Over Matter anymore, there is no evasion or anything like that. So you need to make sure that the energy shield actually comes back quickly. And not just for getting hits, but also from our Lich nodes, we actually spend a bit of our energy shield here with the Eldritch Empowerment. So you need to make sure that the energy shield recharge is running frequently and quickly, because if you just keep spamming, you'll lose 5% of your energy shield every time. So you need to make sure that this comes back fast. And in my case, with these nodes that I have here, I think my energy shield recharge delay is like 1.1 seconds. So you just need to not get hit for 1 second basically, and then it recharges, and it recharges like 3,500 per second or so. So in like 2.5 seconds it's full, and that feels pretty comfortable. If you feel like you're getting hit too often, or the energy to recharge is not happening fast enough, then you can also, for example, swap a few of the points that I have in my progression here. Maybe take out a few of the maximum energy shield first and put them like here earlier. So this might help you with the consistency of actually keeping your energy shield up since you are spending it actively. Now let's talk about the Ascendancy a little bit more. I just showed this here. So this is actually the first thing that we pick up when we are in Act 2. We just get 30% more damage when we sacrifice energy shield. So as long as you try to avoid taking a lot of hits, you can get a nice juicy damage buff here. Then we take the Soulless Form. This is 10% of damage taken bypasses energy shield. And then you have no mana regen, but you regenerate mana equal to 6% of maximum life, which is generally a pretty big upgrade to your mana regeneration. So this also, for example, helps with the Mind Over Matter stuff that I just explained. And this also still benefits from mana regeneration rate if you roll that on your rings, for example. But now, for example, stacking a large mana pool doesn't really help you anymore. So instead you want to have a bit of life, and that will give you the mana regen. And this node is actually extremely powerful because of the follow-up. So this is going to be the third Ascendancy, which is Eternal Life, which says your life cannot change while you have Energy Shield. So the way this works is that as long as you have any Energy Shield whatsoever, you will not take this 10% damage that would bypass the Energy Shield. So effectively you have a 10% damage reduction node here. And not only that, we also have Aziri's Disdain. So this is kind of like one of the core items here. Very easy to get as well. It's probably relatively cheap in trade, but I actually just chanced this in SSF as well pretty easily. But this has a similar effect of the damage taken bypass. So here you have 10%, you have 10% on the Ascendancy, this is 20%, and all of this is not actually applied to you. So you have 20% damage reduction, giving you a 25% EHP boost for free as long as you have this. We don't really invest into our life pool very much. So my character is running around with like sub 2k life or something like that. And we also convert some of our life into Energy Shield with some of the nodes here on the tree, for example. So you have a relatively low life pool, very high ES pool, and effectively you play this like a pure Energy Shield build. You cannot go Chaos Inoculation with this because then you don't really get like this extra Energy Shield, for example, here from the Aziri's Disdain. So you have to stack the Chaos Resistance and you just don't invest into life and you have like a little bit of a life pool. So this combination just makes you extremely tanky. And in addition, you have like a lot of Energy Shield. So as I said, my character, it couldn't tank anything. It basically never died. It felt very comfortable. There's also another benefit to this, which is that you can actually stay at low life all the time, forever basically. So even when you level up, when you reach checkpoints and all that stuff, your life cannot change. So as long as your Energy Shield is active, it just doesn't move up or down. And this means that you can stay at low life. So for example, we have the Execute Free gem here, for example, in Dark Effigy. So you do 30% more damage against low life enemies, but when you are low life, you also do another 30% more with this. So effectively, you just stay in low life at like around 30% or so. Low life range is 35%, but you don't want to have this like kind of like a red screen and like the animation of being very low. So you try to stay around that, and then you can benefit from stuff like Execute Free, for example. And the way to do this is that you just kind of run into some campaign zone, let monsters hit you a little bit. As long as they keep hitting you, your Energy Shield won't recharge. And you just wait for them to slowly get through the ES, slowly lower your health, and then you just run away basically, and you will stay there forever. So this is very comfy. And to finish up on the Ascendancy, our last points go to the Phylactery here. So here it allows you to socket another jewel, and this one has double the effect. It has also this downside of having 50% more mana cost if you have no Energy Shield, but that basically never happens because if you have no ES, you are dead. So it is fine. And you just kind of put the biggest jewel you have here. So you ideally have like a corrupted 5 mod jewel, something like this here with some ES. Presence radius is nice. There's chaos damage, spell damage, cast speed, withered magnitude. So these kind of mods basically, all of our jewels kind of look like this, and you just take whatever is your biggest one and put it here. And let's talk about the gear really quick. So here's our wand. Ideal wand looks like something like this here. So we want to have +4 or more levels to our chaos spells or all spells. So it doesn't really matter which of the two, but you want to have a lot of skill ranks. In general, skill ranks are really important for the damage of this build. Each rank on your skills is somewhere in the range of like a 15% multiplicative damage boost. So like 5-6 ranks is roughly double damage. That's a lot, and this is your main way to scale the damage. So make sure you get that. You can get this with an essence. There's a perfect essence to get +3 to all spell skills on a suffix. So for example, a focus can look like this. You can also do the same with the wand. So you can already get +6 just from essences, guaranteed. And this is like the main mod to have basically. And then you want to have spell damage, chaos damage. Cast speed doesn't hurt. You don't really care that much about cast speed since we kind of just apply our dots and then we're chilling. But a bit more cast speed just makes it more fluid. It also allows you to, for example, spam your chaos bolt from the wand. So this is a skill that comes from this weapon directly. And you want to have a withered wand so that you can get a chaos bolt. So this is something you kind of just like add in on like bosses especially. It applies more wither, it does a bit of damage, it helps. So you want to try to get this base. If you don't have this base, it's okay to go with something else for a while. This is what I've done as well. I just couldn't find a good withered wand, so I was using a random one. but you definitely want to have this later on once you're a bit more optimized, because it does help to burst down stuff. There's also a really nice unveiled mod that you can almost force. So this is an off-Kurgle mod here with the 7% increased chaos damage taken from hindered enemies. We do hinder with our temp chains plus some points on the tree. And this is actually, I think, a 50-50. So if you use one of the omens that force a Kurgle mod on a suffix on a wand, then you can get this very easily. So I've done exactly this on my wand as well, and it worked out just fine. And we also have something big on the focus here. So again, similar to the weapon, you want spell casts and damage for chaos and so on. And then on the prefixes, you also have one of these mods from the Desecration, which is an Ulaman mod. So I think also there's only 2 of them here. So you see here the names on the right. So there's 2 Ulaman mods. If you force one of them, then you can get the spell skills have +1 to maximum number of summoned totems. I actually don't have this on my focus, but it allows you to get a 3rd effigy. So instead of only 2, you have 3, and they are pretty big for single target damage. This is easily something like a 20-30% more multiplier if you have this on your focus, so you want to try to get that. The rest of the gear is mainly stack a lot of energy shield, so we just have like a really big energy shield chest here. We have the Enquiries that gives us the life as energy shield, and then just like gloves and boots that have like a little bit, just try to get what you can, but most of it will come from your chest because that's the big piece. And what you saw in the clip earlier with my 9k ES, I had way worse gear than in Splanner. I think my chest was not even 500 ES, and my gloves and boots were maybe around 100 or something like that. And even so, I could get, almost 10k ES. So it's very easy to stack up a lot because you get so much percent increase from the tree. You can also get a bit more here, for example, from amulets. There's a maximum ES, there's global defenses, there's the percent maximum ES and so on. But yeah, just it's kind of like the icing on the cake. Of course, make sure that you kept all of your resistances, including chaos. That helps a lot. And also your amulet, for example, can have skill ranks as well. So getting a +2 or +3 on the amulet is also very nice. A bit more cast speed can go on the rings and on an amulet as well. And yeah, rarity wherever you can, basically. And lastly, let's talk about the skills here in a bit more detail. So we have the campaign setup and the endgame setup. It does stay basically the same anyway. I just mostly moved a few of the supports around because there is a bit of a progression here. So in the earlier campaign, you don't really have like this super great spread with your Contagion and Essence Drain because you want to focus a little bit more on damage. They have a lot of bosses to fight and your single target is not crazy at the start. So we kind of just like take out some of the quality of life and clearing capacity to make that boss fighting a little bit better. So for example, here when we're starting in Act 1, I have Unleash on Contagion here, which is nice, just to spread it more easily. And you get like a free cast instead of one every once in a while. So this helps to just spread this thing a bit better. But for example, in Essence Drain, in late game, we have Chain. So this gives you 40% less damage with hits, but we don't care about the hit part. We only care about the dot part. So this is not a downside, but we get the +1 chain and then you have to like hit 3 targets at once with the 100% more chain as well that its gem has. And this makes it very comfortable because you don't have to hit exactly the right guy with the Essence Drain or the exactly right guy with the Contagion. You just like Contagion into a pack, Essence Drain into a pack, and almost every time without looking really, you get exactly the right target thanks to the chain. But for the early game, you want to be a bit more precise because you want the damage, and we swap a few of the supports around. But in the end, we just kind of like try to stack as many damage supports as we can. So there is Swift Affliction, so this is more dot damage. There's Considered Casting, more damage but slower cast speed. Deliberation, more damage but less movement, but we don't cast Essence Drain that often, so it doesn't really slow us down much. And Chaos Mastery is, for example, also something you can kind of just like throw in there for many of those later sockets, for example. So this helps us out with some extra damage as well. For the Dark Effigies, this is relatively locked in. So you want first the poison. This is like the 3rd dot, because the more dots are on the target, the more the Dark Effigies shoot. So this is very nice. Then you have Withering Touch. So this is really great. Wither is like a debuff that gives you 5% extra damage taken, stacks up to 10 times. And we also increase this with some of the nodes on a tree. For example, we have like a Wither Magnitude, for example. This can also exist on jewels. But with this, with 40% extra magnitude, we get 70% extra damage done to the target. So this is really powerful. This is also why we have Withering Presence, for example. So just existing makes everything withered already around us. And then we stack that really fast on the bosses, thanks to the Chaos Bolt that does a bunch of withered, and then also the Withering Touch here on the Dark Effigy. Overabundance is also a pretty important one. This allows you to get the second totem and then maybe potentially the third one with the focus later on. So you want to like try to cast those, and here's Urgent Totems later. This is really nice because it makes the cast speed really fast on those totems. In the campaign, it takes a little bit because they have a very slow like placement animation, but with this gem later, it's actually pretty smooth. And that covers pretty much most of the noteworthy supports here. There is obviously like, you know, a bit more like small stuff here, like prolonged duration on our curses and unearth and so on. That kind of like helps with quality of life, but you can also see this here with like how I have everything set up. So I'm not gonna go into like every single gem now. And then when you go to endgame, most of the stuff stays the same. The main change is like we have the big chain here on the Essence Strain early on, and we like just upgrade our gems to like the higher versions. And here's also like the 6 links that you want to have. Just one note, the Chaos Bolt cannot actually be qualitied or linked directly. So this comes from the weapon itself. So you have to quality the weapon in order to get quality here. And also the sockets are determined by, I think, the item level. So basically the higher you go, the more of the gems you'll get. So you can't really influence this otherwise. But otherwise, Jeweler Orbs, you want to do first Essence Drain, then Contagion, Dark Effigy, and then the rest basically. That also pretty much covers everything. You can also see the gem cutting order here. So I have this kind of like listed out a little bit, the supports, the spirit gems, and also like a little bit of the like strategy with like skill rotation. Here's an Atlas tree. That's just like what I use, which is like essence and strong boxes and rare and magic monsters for the most part. Here's a lot of notes, so I can also refer to this here. So this covers basically everything you need to know and what I just explained for the most part as well. So I really hope that you enjoyed this, and I wish you good luck if you're trying out the ED Contagion Lich. This has been an absolute blast for me. I'm working on some other bolts now, but yeah, I can just recommend this. It's like a very good, like a very casual friendly build, a very good league starter as well. So I played this basically as my first character in Hardcore Zeph until I ripped at some point, but that was my mistake. And yeah, just very smooth and fun to play. So hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you like this. I have more stuff coming for 0.3, so stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next time.